We have a ton of good news about the Ford stimulus check, Social Security benefits, and SSI and SSDI. Now if you guys want to know the latest news about the Ford stimulus check, then continue watching this video. Biden is taking huge action this week to fight inflation, and the Biden administration has confirmed that addressing inflation and helping low-income households financially are their top priorities. Several new relief programs are being established this month. Confronted with a sharp decline in approval ratings and the relentless increase in consumer prices, President Biden is finally shifting to full inflation fighting mode with a month-long campaign intent to contain public outrage over the rising cost of everyday goods. The White House is taking steps to calm voters and their worries about surging inflation. They are signaling that Biden understands what U.S. households are enduring and that officials are maximizing efforts to bring prices under control. This comes ahead of the midterm elections. Just last week, Biden held a rare Oval Office meeting with Jerome Powell. Central bank officials hiked interest rates again on May 4th, lifting them by 50 basis points for the first time in 2 decades. Jerome Powell has said inflation is much too high, and the Fed has also announced plans to begin running down its massive $9 trillion balance sheet. The inflation report in April showed that prices cooled off a bit, or remained near a 40-year high. Core prices, which exclude gas and food, also accelerated more than expected, underscoring how strong inflationary pressures in the economy still are. With Biden's approval rating sinking to its low, the Biden administration finally has a brand new plan to fight inflation and help the American people. Millions of Americans may get extra $225 stimulus checks under this new stimulus proposal. Millions of people could get millions of Americans could also get additional cash payments of $225 under a new proposal. That comes as red-hot inflation continues, and qualifying residents in Indiana may soon see the relief. Indiana's Republican governor is also proposing a plan to send $225 payments to people in the state amid the highest inflation since 1981 by tapping into the state's growing budget surplus. The governor said he will call for a special legislative session before the end of June, so lawmakers can consider and potentially act on a plan that will total $1 billion in budget surpluses. He said Indiana residents have real needs right now during this period of high inflation, from the gas pump to buying groceries, and everyone should benefit from the state's success. The $225 check comes after about 4.3 million of the state's taxpayers began receiving $125 payments last month under the same law. According to the governor's office, if it's approved, each Indiana resident who has filed 2021 taxes would be eligible to now receive a combined total of about $350 in payments. Married couples filing jointly would also receive about $700. The additional deposit will be made to the bank accounts of eligible residents in Indiana who have filed their tax returns. And that's the good news I want to hear from everybody. Now, skyrocketing gas prices is definitely a huge problem for the White House, and while the administration began the month by pivoting heavily toward its economic message, experts say the attempt has so far fallen flat, especially as the national average for a gallon of gas hits a record of $5. Along with inflation that presents a major political challenge for Biden Democrats, the White House is showing signs that it is seriously considering a federal gas tax holiday. President Biden's economic team has discussed the gas tax holiday recently, and is expected to meet later this week for further talks. The White House is under political pressure to do something to provide relief to Americans dealing with high inflation and rising gas prices. The economic storm has seriously created headwinds for Democrats ahead of the midterms. One Democrat told The Hill it's definitely an option on the table, and suspending the federal gas tax would require an act of Congress, but a public push by Biden in favor of the policy could help spur action on Capitol Hill. Some are considering the White House on the idea. A handful of states have already moved to suspend their gas tax, and the White House has already repeatedly said that nothing is off the table when it comes to combating rising gas prices. And next, at a briefing Monday afternoon, whether the administration was considering a federal gas tax holiday, the White House press secretary said that she had nothing new to announce on addressing gas prices. But a few others in Washington say that a federal gas tax holiday would have little impact for consumers. An estimate from the Penn-Wharton budget model released early this year found that suspending the federal gas tax from March to December of this year would reduce the average gas spending by between $16 and $47 for that period. Economists have said that studies have shown that roughly 2/3 of the tax cut would be captured by energy companies. He also argued that the tax relief wouldn't be targeted enough.
$1 trillion swing. President Obama comes in first year. He reduces the deficit, which is what contributes to national debt, by $700 billion.
Are stimulus checks going to be sent out immediately? Well, there has been new released information on $2,000 stimulus checks. The lawmakers are now negotiating on $100 stimulus payments. The gas prices are soaring nationwide, and AAA reports that the national average cost of a gallon of gas hit $5.16 as of June 14th. This is the all-time record high price, and since many people cannot eliminate gasoline usage or even significantly cut down their fuel costs, these surging prices have hit hard. As a result, lawmakers are naturally considering ways to provide relief, including potentially sending out another stimulus payment. Proposals to help the public cope with gas prices exist at the federal level as well as in some states. One plan put forth on the federal level, for example, is called the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. It would provide a monthly rebate during any month when the national average cost of gas is $4 or more. The rebate would last through the end of 2022 and would total $100 per adult and per dependent for single filers earning less than $75,000 or joint filers earning less than $150,000. It would phase out at higher income levels, with single filers getting no rebate once their income topped $80,000. And married joint filers losing the rebate with an income of $160,000 or higher. Now, state plans exist in certain locations because in early June, for example, North Carolina Democrats put forth a plan to send money to residents via check or debit card. The money would come in the form of a $200 rebate to North Carolina residents and would be available by October 1st to anyone who is 18 or over. Now, this is a bit different from the past stimulus checks that have come from the federal government because those were able to be deposited into people's bank accounts if they provided the information, and while these payments would come in the form of a debit card or check only. So the child tax credit in 2022 will return to conditions offered by the IRS before the American Rescue Plan expanded it. The amount of the credit is smaller and eligibility is more. Generally, if your refund is delayed more than 45 days, the IRS will pay interest on the total. Starting July 1st, the interest increases from 4 to 5% compounded daily. There are numerous reasons the agency has fallen behind, including being short-staffed, still needing to catch up from 2020's backlog, and accounting for tax changes made in crisis stimulus legislation. Additionally, it may take longer for agents to process paper returns and those with errors, which they need to do by hand. Before the filing season even began, IRS Commissioner Chuck Reddick told lawmakers that the IRS predicted that returns would be delayed this year, but the backlog should be cleared by the end of the year. So you may be able to receive money from the IRS if you don't receive your return by the mandated due date. As returns pile up at the IRS, millions of taxpayers are experiencing refund delays beyond the standard 21-day turnaround for electronically filed returns with a direct deposit refund. If you did not receive a refund within 45 days of filing, the IRS is obligated to pay you interest for each additional day. The second quarter return is an acceptable interest return of 4%, and interest compounds daily. And according to Newsbreak, in 2020, almost 14 million taxpayers received interest payments on $18 on average. However, if you receive interest on your refund, it is taxable and will require filing out a form on your 2020 tax return for interest payments more than $10. So as the IRS is quick to point out on its website, many delays are also due to corrections to returns involving government assistance programs like the Enhanced Child Tax Credit, the Recovery Rebate Credit, and the Earned Income Tax Credit. The IRS has just released a new announcement that would affect millions of Americans. There are now several different states offering financial assistance to families and seniors. Now, this extra relief could be worth up to $750, and this will be sent in August. The good news is that Connecticut is the latest U.S. state to announce a child tax credit rebate as part of its 2023 fiscal year budget. The state included around